In this video, I'm going to show you how to manipulate an Excel file that's been downloaded from a Starfish attendance report. So when you open the file that you've downloaded, you're going to look at the bottom of your screen and see that there's several tabs across the bottom. The tab that we're going to work in is the student attendance. So I'm going to click on student attendance. Okay, now I've gone in and in the download it tells me each student, the date, and then whether they were present or absent. Now, in the first setup, I want to go in and I want to highlight whether they were present or absent. So I'm going to select column K where it has the attendance status. So I click right on the K, and I'm going to make sure I'm in the Home tab across the top, and I'm going to go into conditional formatting. I'm going to go into highlight cell rules, go down to equal to, and you can choose whether you want to highlight present or absent. I'm going to do absent. As soon as I spell the words out, I can see that's already highlighting them in the attendance column. So I'm going to hit OK. Okay. Now, as you're looking at this, it might be easier to group by day to look at the attendance individually. So I want to go in and I'm going to group so that all the same dates will be grouped together, which they already are, but this will make it stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to go into, I'm going to click on any cell. I'm going to go into the Data tab. And then I'm going to go into subtotal. So we're going to click on subtotal. And at each change, we want to have the date. And I'm going to turn off anything that's checked down below, down here. And I'm going to check on or turn on the attendance status and tell it to count them. All right, so it's date, count, turn on attendance status, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. All right, so now you can go through and you can see the dates stand out a little bit better this way. And if you wanted to check to see when a student last attended, then you can actually go back through. You could do a search for that student or just go down to the last date and work backwards to see when they were actually in the class. So that's one way to work with the data. Okay. The next step is I want to sort by student and then group them together by the student. So if I'm going to look at one student at a time, this will be an easier view to work with. So what I need to do is go in and turn off the current grouping. So I'm going to go back in a subtotal. Now this again is still in the Data tab. I'm going to go into subtotal. And I'm going to go in and I'm just going to hit remove all, and that will turn off all my grouping. Now what I want to do is I want to group it together by student. So by doing this, I'm going to sort. So I'm going to click anywhere in my data. So I only want to have one cell selected. I don't want to have a group of cells. And staying in my Data tab, I'm going to go in and I'm going to click on the sort button. This is the custom sort. So I'm going to go into sort. I want to sort by the student name, so that will be my first level. Then I'm going to add a second level, and then I'm going to sort by date. All right, and then go ahead and hit OK. Now, if it comes up with this message, don't worry about it. Just hit OK. We're going to ignore that. Now I can see that all of one student is grouped together. And I can go over here and I can look to see when was the last date that they were present. Now, you can also go in and do grouping on this. So again, I'm going to click somewhere in my data. I'm going to go to subtotal. This time I'm going to say after each change in student, I'm going to still do a count on the attendance. Now I want to make sure that I want to replace any current grouping in there if I had any in there, and just hit OK. So now I can actually visualize how many days there was for the attendance, and then I can actually look back up through the column and figure out when was the last day this student attended the class. Okay. Now, one of the other things you can do with this, you'll notice that there's numbers on the left-hand side. If you click on the number 2, it will actually show you the name of each student. So if you have a student that you have to report their last day of attendance, you can expand just their data. So I can hit the plus sign just in front of their name, and I can look at their data. So I can see that this student, the last time they attended was on 4/23. All right. Number 3 will bring everything back. Number 2 will show just the data. Number 1 is a grand total, which isn't going to be very useful. All right. So this grouping numbering is going to help you as well. Okay, so this is how you're going to be able to work with the data you pull from Starfish for the attendance.